Where's Fielder? He's gone to the dogs.
Well, hello out there in the podcasting sphere. I was told one time that's what this is. We're on the internet thanks to Al Gore, and this is the Gone to the Dogs podcast. I'm Steve Fielder. I'm your host, coming to you from West Central Florida, about a mile and a half from the Gulf of America. And today I am blessed beyond measure to have my brother on the show with me. Hey, Randy. How you doing?
Steve. I'm doing good, Steve.
You doing good, huh? Yeah. Well, that's good. Me too, man. Bro Randy and I have been waxing domestic here this morning. We got a couple of racks of pork baby back ribs in the smoker, and we are hopeful that in about 3 hours or so we're going to be able to put the smack down on those bad boys. How many barbecue cookers we got out there in the audience? Yeah, I see that hand. Do I see another one before we close? Okay, a lot of barbecuers in the audience today. You like to barbecue, Randy?
I love to.
What is it about cooking outside? Is it a primal instinct? Is it the preparation, the smell? What is it for you?
The primal instinct.
Uh-huh. Like Tim Allen, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you bought me a T-shirt one time, and I like that T-shirt a lot. It says, what does it say? I barbecue or I grill out or whatever, and I know things. Yeah, man, I tell you what, I do absolutely love to grill out, and I don't have a fancy outdoor kitchen. I don't have, it all built in and bricked up and all that kind of stuff, but I do have quite a few gadgets. I guess fundamentally out there, I got a Weber gas grill. Well, okay. Webers are pretty nice. They work most of the time. I've had to replace part of the element of mine, the crossover pipe light that moves the gas from burner to burner, and just little things like that. But I like Weber. It works really good if you're just going to do something on a gas grill. And a few years ago, Ella bought me a smoker. I mean, this baby's got a firebox on the side. It's got a multi-tiered rack to put the meats on, and love cooking in that. Uses charcoal, and I use wood chunks. Quite a few of them that came from your place in Virginia, bro.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you gave me some cherry, which was good.
I did.
Some hickory. I think probably some oak, maybe. I don't know. What, did you give me any peach?
Didn't have any.
No peaches. If you don't like my peaches, don't shake my tree, right?
That's right.
Okay, no peaches. But anyway, that thing's good. The only problem with that is you got to maintain your temperature. And it's got a gauge on it and all. But you got to be careful that you don't get it too hot. Or that you don't let your fire get too low. So that thing requires some maintenance, or some attention while you're cooking. So that's a good one if it's a decent day. Here in Florida, it gets so stinking hot in the summertime. It's hard to sit outside like that. But anyway, I love doing those Boston butts, those pork shoulders. We were just talking about that. What's your favorite meat to barbecue, Randy?
The ribs.
Ribs?
The pork ribs.
Yeah, ribs are hard to beat. I picked up a couple of racks of ribs at Sam's Club. Usually get a pretty good price on them there, and always get a good rib. I usually like to get baby backs. I don't normally go with the short ribs or spare ribs, I guess they're called. There's probably more meat on them. Which kind do you like to cook?
Well, you're asking me questions that the only answer I can come up with is I never met a pork I didn't like.
Hey, we were raised on pork, weren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Our dad, I'm so used to saying mine, our dad was raised in Middle Tennessee where hickory smoked pork was king.
Absolutely, yes.
May still be. I hope so. Can remember my grandmother's smokehouse. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, man, you could go in there and there'd be hams hanging from the rafters. There'd be sides of bacon. There'd be my personal favorite, the breakfast sausage, hickory smoked with sage and red pepper all in the mix.
Come on now.
Yes, Lord. That will preach, won't it, bro?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. My grandmother made the sausage. I can remember seeing her taking the pork, and I think they used, the loins and the tenderloins and all that. They ground it up, put it in a grinder, and then she packed it in these cheesecloth sleeves. And I've never seen anybody really doing the sausage that way in latter years, but those sleeves were shaped like the only thing I can think of is Spam. They were long instead of round. And they were like an oblong, I'm going to say maybe 2.5 inches wide. And I guess it's probably about maybe 5 pounds in one of those rolls, maybe more. I don't know. But those things were hung in the smokehouse. There was usually a wash tub sitting there that had the fire in it. They used sassafras for the smoke. It was green and created a lot of smoke, and then you put the hickory chunks in there. And you didn't want it to blaze, you just wanted it to smoke, Man, it was so good, man. So anyway, anything that smells like wood burning is, I often say, if I had an idea, you could smell wood burning. But anyway, that's what we were raised on, weren't we? That good pork sausage.
Oh, yes.
Country ham sliced real thin and fried for breakfast with a biscuit. And maybe some grits and some eggs. I used to tell my buddy Brad Eschball up in Michigan, we'd be out on a camping trip with the Boy Scouts from our church. We didn't call them Boy Scouts, we called them Royal Rangers. And I'd say, boy, Brad, if we had some eggs, we'd have some ham and eggs if we had some ham. And that would have been good. So that doesn't have much to do with coon hunting, but if you're a coon hunter and you don't like hickory smoked pork, I don't know what to do for you. I really don't. But I still reach out to that area of the country and try to get some hickory smoked sausage whenever I can. It's usually in November. Back on the farm, when refrigeration wasn't readily available, all you had was an ice box. the ice wagon would come through the country with the ice under burlap and would stop, and you would purchase enough ice to go into your ice box, which was your refrigerator inside. And I can remember my grandmother had one of those, but it wasn't too long, I don't think, until she had got an actual refrigerator. My dad was born in 1920. That's right, Depression time. So there weren't a lot of fancy amenities there in that house. I don't remember a time, though, when there wasn't electric lights. Do you, Randy?
No.
I know that electricity came through that country, in the early 1900s. Our grandfather, Grandpa Haley, my grandma Fielder's dad, had a carbide lighting system running through his house. He had the pipes running, or the hoses, I don't know what he used. And he had the lamps in each room, and he could just go over and strike the flint, on the lamp and light the lamp, which was kind of cool. You didn't have to fill the coal oil lantern, with kerosene or coal oil, as they called it back then. So that's, I guess, enough for a nostalgia tour. But, man, those are good memories. I remember those days very well. And I hope that you're out there listening, that you have some of those kind of memories in your past as well. As I'm gabbing here, I'm going to switch on this laptop and try to take a peek at the results of the UKC Tournament of Champions that's going on right now as I'm recording. As usual, I'm running a little bit late this week. This is a Friday, so it may not air early Monday morning, which would be the Monday after the crowning of the Tournament of Champions winner. They're down to 24 dogs right now, and I'm not going to try to read all of them to you or anything like that, but we want to give a shout out to my good friends Randy Smith and Chris Saunders. Chris is hunting a little Frogger female out of Lone Pine Jillian. Jillian was out of Bone Collector and world champion Lone Pine Biffy Sue. And they call her Flesh and Bone. And of course, the flesh is spelled with a PH. Anyway, they got in. They're in the top 24. And as I've spoken on this podcast many times, as of late, there's so many new hunters that weren't around when I was deeply involved that I just don't know very many of these guys anymore. But looked like the cast or the group was pretty much walkers, which you expect. And there was an English dog or two and a black and tan, I think. And, I think that black and tan maybe got eliminated last night. So not sure if one of those are still in or not. But anyway, the guys that are all running and gunning for the Tournament Champions, that pays a $50,000 first prize. Could you use that today, bro?
I could, yeah.
Somebody asked me, said, what would you do if you had $50,000, Steve? And I said, well, I'd put it on my bills as far as it go.
Right.
Yeah. Or like I think it was Obama. We don't do politics on here, but, $1 million here, $1 billion there, pretty soon it gets to be real money, But, man, these purses have really gotten out of sight. $50,000 for winning a coon hunt. Can you imagine that, Randy?
Well, I can imagine it, but I understand the point that you're making. I guess as long as they can raise it or they have the sponsorship, they're going to try to
Yeah.
offer it to draw a crowd. That's what they do.
Well, the Tournament of Champions was an effort by the United Kennel Club to increase entries at the local level. And it has been somewhat successful in that regard. True to form, they changed their championship structure so that a dog that wins 5 cast wins makes the title night champion. That also happens to be the ticket to participate in the Tournament of Champions. Get it? The dogs are all now night champions, so they get to participate in the finals. So throughout the year, go to any UKC hunt, win your cast plus points. That's one. You need 5 of those to be night champion, and that qualifies you for the Tournament of Champions. Makes sense, huh?
It does.
Yeah. So anyway, to try to sweeten the deal a little bit, they put a nice cash prize at the end of the event, and they also really stepped up their game in terms of providing a nice venue. They had been there in Greencastle, Indiana for the first few events, and I don't know whether this is the 4th or 5th or whatever. I should have looked that up, but I was fortunate to participate in the very first one and participated in the TV coverage of the streaming of the play-by-plays and all that stuff. But now they've moved the event to Sturgis, Michigan, which is really close to where I lived up there for about 22 years. So I know the coon hunting is real good where they're hunting right now. It's right along the Indiana line and all, cornfields and everything that makes Michigan a great state for coon hunting. So I haven't heard any reports about the weather or what the scores were or anything like that. UKC doesn't make it easy for you to keep up with these hunts. You kind of got to get online and do a little digging to find out where the results are. But anyway, even a simpleton like me, I was able to find out who the dogs were, and they're doing a good job of posting a picture of the dogs with their owners and all that. So we're down to 24 as of this podcast. Now, by the time you're listening to this, the winner will have been declared. So that's about all I have for an update on competition hunting. The other day, I did a post on social media about a dog that we had that we call Pee-wee. Did you see that post, Randy?
I did.
Did you get a chance to read it?
Yes, I read it.
Did it bring back any memories for you?
It did, yeah. Sure did.
Yeah, because you hunted him quite a bit. You probably hunted him as much as I did, maybe more.
No, I don't know about that, but he was a fun little dog to hunt.
Yeah, he was always a happy camper. No problems, no trouble. Did you ever see him get aggressive with the dog?
Oh, never.
No, he was. Dad started calling him Pee-wee because he didn't think he'd ever grow up when he was little. Plot dog, of course. Nothing else on the field or homestead. But he's a pretty remarkable little dog, and I wish that I had been in a position at that time, to make the hunts with him, because I was working at UKC and I couldn't go. They would not let me compete in the licensed events, and PKC wasn't really around very much up there at that time. So I didn't get to do that with him, but I can remember a hunt one night that he looked particularly good. I was hunting with a fellow named Jim Bomback, and Jim had a dog called Pulpwood, like the pulpwood cutter. A nice walker dog. He had made a good showing in the UKC World Hunt out at John Wick's place out in Montgomery City, Missouri. And Jim came over to go hunting with me, and we went to Jim and Francis, Mary Frances Kasner's place, which was a real show place, a little farm there in Van Buren County. And we usually drive back a lane there and stop and turn the dogs loose and just wait for them. And you've hunted there, Randy. I guess everybody that ever came, anybody that ever came to hunt with me hunted that spot. Do you remember they had a statue, a lighted statue behind the house? This was one of those centennial farms, and the home was beautiful, and they were obviously Catholic by faith, and I don't remember which saint the statue was, but they actually had a marble statue that was lighted. You would think you were on the White House lawn or somewhere behind their place, set and nestled in the grape vineyards, and also some cornfields around there. But anyway, I remember hunting with Jim, and we cut peewee and pulpwood together. And, of course, it was a race back to the woods, probably, wasn't a quarter mile, maybe an eighth or better, back to the woods from where we cut them loose. And they got struck, and I don't remember for sure which dog struck first, but one went left and one went right. And Pee-wee was kind of right-handed. He kind of liked to go right when you cut him loose. And anyway, they each had a decent track, drove it in there. Both got treed. Both good hard tree dogs. Sounded great. Went to them. Of course, this story, I wouldn't tell you if they didn't have the coon. But no, seriously, each had a coon. And I just remember that hunt particularly. Pulpwood was out of a dog called Gibby's Lead. And they were just, they were flag bred walker dogs is what they were. Anyway, just good memories of hunting with Pee-wee. He always sat down right at the tree. Did you ever see him treeing up on the tree, Randy?
I don't remember ever seeing that.
Yeah. There's a picture of the two of us on a bear tree down on Spring Creek one day. It was when Todd Kellum was up hunting with us. And I took a picture of myself and Pee-wee under that tree, and Pee-wee was up on the tree. One of my favorite ones is he's sitting down, and Julie, our Julie female, she's standing on it up on his back, her front feet. You remember that picture?
I do, yeah.
And man, they're talking to that bear. They're cussing him hard. And just a joy to hunt, man. I tell you, that's what training pups, raising pups, buying and selling dogs and all this can be very frustrating in this sport. But when you get one like Pee-wee, it's just a lot of fun. Do you remember any hunts that you took with Pee-wee in particular?
No. I told you not to ask me questions like that.
Well, wait a minute. Now,
okay.
you're retired, right?
Yeah.
So you checked out when you retired.
Exactly.
You put all the memories, all that stuff in lock boxes. Al Gore. There's my buddy Al Gore again. I keep talking about him. He invented this internet that we're talking on here right now.
Well, let me just say this.
About that.
Yeah, your listeners may mind. I was never a competition hunter. To me, it was just the pleasure hunt, and most of my hunts were me and the hound It was an opportunity for me to get away and just have some fellowship with God's wonderful creation, and the dog. I love the hound.
Yeah.
Pee-wee was just such a joy, never a problem. Just did it all right, and he was just fun to have around. He was a great hound.
Yeah, he was. He had a good mouth. He went hunting really hard.
Mm-hmm.
When you unsnapped him, he took off on a hard run. And I've laughed about him before. He'd go in there and tree a coon, and you'd pull him off the tree, and he'd pee for 5 minutes. He just wouldn't stop to take a break before he got struck. But if our dad was here, he could tell you with great detail hunts that he took with Pee-wee. And that was Dad, as you know, Randy. He was the detail man. He remembered everything about a hunt. Now, I can remember taking the hunt and what dogs that we had along and that sort of thing. But I don't remember, I didn't really record in this little patch of gray matter that I've got what the details were about a hunt. You know, I can remember certain things. I remember breaking him off deer. When I first got him up to Michigan, he wanted to run a deer a little bit. Of course, we had so many of them there. But it only took a bump one time with that tritronic, and he was done with the deer. And I've also, in that story on Facebook, I mentioned the fact that he started treeing possums when he's about 4 or 5 years old. And just out of the blue, he treed several possums. And I don't know why dogs do that. Maybe one of our listeners can chime in, because I had that experience with the fever dog that we have too. The first time I took him out to Arkansas, and went over with my friend Matt Collins one night, and Pee-wee not Pee-wee, but Fever got in a possum treeing mood. And, I was able to dissuade him a little bit, thanks to the good folks at Garmin. And he's never treed one since. But they get it in their mind sometimes that those things are what they should be after. Do you remember treeing any possums with him?
No. By the time I got Pee-wee, you guys had, he was a fine-tuned machine. So I didn't have to ever deal with any of that. But I have a thought they're tree dogs, right?
Yes.
So they're going to tree. We're happy they treed. Now we've got to bring the circle a little tighter in and have them tree what we want them to tree and nothing else.
Yep. And that's, the thing about coon hounds. You want them to be so fine-tuned in so many areas. But the problem is a lot of guys just think, well, the dog ought to know. No, he shouldn't ought to know. If he's doing something that comes natural, you have to teach him otherwise. All right. Now, there are strains of dogs that it seems that they just don't pay attention to off game. And these bear pen plots have been that way to a degree. Now, I remember back in the day when I was young, and you may remember this, Randy, where Dad, he didn't have a Tritronics unit, the forerunner of the Garmin units that we use today, for training. So he had to be creative. And we did have, our young dogs would run deer. We didn't have any coons to speak of around there in southern West Virginia. And, if they ran a deer, you didn't have any way to track them. You just hoped they came back. Hope you could drive around somewhere maybe and hear them,
Right.
Or just wait till they come in, which was often days later. So, they did do that at times, but then again, we didn't have many deer either, so it wasn't a big problem. I can remember going in Camp Creek, Randy, and I know you hunted there, and have them run a deer and come out all the way down at Camp Creek State Park at the headquarters. And the deer in those mountains, they tend to run to water and they'll run the creeks. And but anyway, I remember having to break Pee Wee off a deer, but those possums were just something that came out of the cheap seats on me. You know, I didn't realize why he was doing that, you know. And I was in Michigan at the time. And so Gene Hicks, my buddy in Tennessee, said, I'll break him for you, Steve. And with my hand up, as Jerry Clower would say, I never knew what he did to break that dog. He never told me, and I didn't ask. But when I got him back from Gene, the possum deal was over. So I really don't know what method he used. Maybe it was one of those old family recipes, you know. And I'm not going to go into a lot of those on this podcast. I don't want the hate mail. But, yeah, Pee Wee was special. I had my dogs a good ways from the house at one time there in Michigan. And I'd just go to the kennel and unlatch the gate, and Pee Wee would go like a rocket and be in the dog box in the truck waiting for me when I got there. You know, he was just a real privileged pleasure to hunt. And for the plot enthusiasts out there, you know, he was bred just about as well as a plot dog could be bred for that day and time. You know, Butch and Jill breeding to a fault. He had the old bear pen stuff. He had Cascade Big Timber stuff. So, you know, he was an extremely well-bred plot dog. And I think wait a minute. Man, I had my good friend Malcolm Reed from How to Barbecue Right down in Mississippi on the computer, and he wanted to jump in there and tell me how to do those ribs, I guess, that we're working on, Randy. Anyway, Malcolm, we'll talk to you later. But anyway, old Pee Wee, he was a joy. He really was a joy to hunt. And when you have one like that, you know, you like to look back and remember the good hunts that you had with him. And I hunted with Mark Blount there at Three Rivers, Michigan, quite a bit during those days. He had an English dog named Jack. And Pee Wee would always be treed right up tight to that base of the tree with its chin right up on the bark, sitting there, chopping them off, you know. Pleasure Hound Deluxe. But I was going to say, I think we bred him, I believe, and got that Willie dog that Dad had stole. He and John Harris were hunting down on K Ford down there in that area, and someone stole two of their dogs that night. They saw the trucks come up the road. They were up on the mountain. They saw the lights. They saw the lights stop at their vehicles and then go on down the hollow and out to that area, and they never saw the dogs again. Dogs had freeze brands on them, and a groomer in that area told my dad that a fellow had come in with those dogs and asked if he'd be able to take those brands off of them. But he never did really find out who. Or being the peaceable guy that my dad was, he may have found out and just didn't push it any further. But I don't think it would have been a good thing for that guy to be caught, you know, with those dogs. Did you remember anything about that story, Randy?
No, nothing other than what you just shared.
Yeah. I remember, I'll tell my buddy, John Harris, my dad told me, he said one night later from that, they were going bear hunting, and John was so good to come by and pick Dad up and take him bear hunting when Dad really wasn't physically able to go, but he would go and be the truck man, and he'd walk the trails out with his Ruger single six and shoot the rattlesnakes on the path. Things like that in the latter days. But he told John, he said, John, I've prayed about this, and I'm going, we've got to forgive these guys that stole our dogs. And John, I don't think John ever did give Dad the assurance that he had forgiven them. And knowing John, and most houndsmen too, but somebody stole a couple of nice plot dogs. Maybe somebody that's listening to this podcast knows who that was. And I just pray that they got right with God and got their hearts right, because what they did was wrong. Anyway, but Pee-wee produced a nice dog there, that Willie dog. I forget what we called him. I had a fancy name on him, but I'd gotten him started on coon, and he was doing great in Michigan. And, of course, as soon as Dad got him, he put him on bear. And that was one of the first evenings that they went. They used to train a lot at night. And I think that's one of the first bears probably that Willie ran. And when it got down, the track got near the trucks and all, he quit, apparently. He and this female of John's, and were maybe hanging around the vehicles when these guys came along, saw the opportunity to take something that wasn't theirs. I can't imagine somebody doing that, but this world we live in, I guess anything's possible. A lot of stories about those old bear pen dogs. And just so proud of that heritage, and proud of the fact that I was able to grow up with that kind of heritage. Aren't you, Randy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Yeah. But anyway, we've had some good podcasts here lately. Really enjoyed Dylan Orr that was on the podcast last week, as we were talking about, are the dogs any better today than they were years ago, or vice versa? And Dylan is a very insightful young man and articulate, and certainly hope to have him back on the podcast. And interestingly enough, he's not a competition hunter, but he is a pleasure hunter, and you can tell he really enjoys the sport. And I guess I'd have to, have come under that category as well. And Randy, you've been able to, down through the years, due to other activities and all, kind of move away from the sport. But you never did really get into it with both feet as far as the competition hunting, did you?
No. I went to a lot of competition hunts. I enjoyed looking at the hounds, and talking to the hunters, and just the fellowship, the camaraderie of the thing.
Sure.
It's always a clean, fun event and time, and, funny stories about that. Some cannot be repeated.
Yeah. I remember you going out to plot days with us out at Marshall, Illinois one time.
I did.
I remember you coming up to Michigan and hunting with Dad and me up there. We had some good hunts up there. Did I have Ghost at that time when you were up there? Do you remember?
Yes, you did.
The big yellow brindle dog.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's what the dog I named this Fever's Ghost after was him. Yeah, and that was the story. I've told this story before. He was the one that was shot by a farmer up there. And there's some stuff that's starting to raise its head a little bit. I see in the social media and all here lately, a couple different dogs that got shot. But the one thing that encouraged me was one fella had shot, I believe, 3 dogs, and he ended up, and now we'll all say that's not long enough time, but he was sentenced to jail for 2 years. That's a little more than a slap on the wrist, because to stay in a rotten jail for 2 years probably will give him a lot of time to think. Of course, 20 years would be more to my liking, because it's absolutely, there's no excuse whatsoever there's just no excuse for someone to shoot a dog. That dog is lost its mind totally, and you go out to the mail and it comes running at you and dives for your throat, and you have the means to get the dog off of you, and if it takes destroying it, well, so be it. But all these lame excuses, they're just excuses that come from an evil heart. They say the dog was after my livestock, the dog was after my ducks, my cats. I went out toward the tree and the dog came after me to attack me. I would venture to say there isn't a single coon hunter under the sound of my voice or in the United States of America that's ever walked toward a tree and had a coon dog come off the tree and try to attack them. You may have walked up there and grabbed them too quick in a reflex action. They may have slung their head around and snapped at you. I've seen that happen. But these dogs are not out attacking people or animals. And those that somehow get their jollies killing a dog, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Do you?
No, not at all. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah, and, it's, to me, it's always a serious thing. It's been tough to lose some of the dogs that I've lost over the years, and to have to take them for their last car ride and to go in with them to the vet and be with them, when they breathe their last. But, just wantonly shoot a dog. But anyway, there's a lot of talk around, with this, what's going on in the state of Virginia. Your old state, Randy's in pretty sad shape right now. If something doesn't happen, you've got a lunatic liberal governor. And yeah, I did say that. I said I wasn't going to talk about politics. But this person is anti-hunting, anti-gun, anti-just about anything that a sane person would want to do. She's against it. And so, people are starting to think about maybe we better get organized. Maybe we better get our act together, or it's possible that we could lose this thing that we love so much. Oh, well, it's been almost 45 minutes. I'm going to cut this one short this week because my voice is just shot. I guess it's pollen down here, whatever, but I'm sure you're tired of listening to a file, grating against an axe head. That's about what I sound like today. But
you're a little raspy.
I'm a little raspy. Yes, I am. Sound like a blue jay out here in the hedge in the mornings. But anyway, I do want to thank Buddy Woodbury out there at W Hunting Supply. And Buddy is a great guy. Number one, he's a hunter. Number two, he cares about these legislative issues and participates. He's very active in that arena. And he also carries a great line of products for hounds and hunters alike. Great customer service. I've often mentioned how quick you can get an order from W. It's amazing. They must have some kind of a special route or something from Washington State to Florida, because the stuff gets here really, really quick. So I want to thank Buddy Woodbury with W Hunting Supply. That's DUSupply.com on your internet. Also want to thank Big Mark Zapp up there in Middlebury, Indiana. Worked for Wick Outdoor Works, worked for Garmin, now works for he actually worked for Tritronics and now works for Garmin, and also has his own business. Mark Zapp, ZEPP.com. Mark will treat you right. All right, this is Steve Fielder and little brother Randy going to sign off this thing today and ship it down the road. Randy, you got any thoughts, any wisdom, any humor, any...
No. Maybe just let me add this, if this would be in line. We're in a very troubled time in this country. And there's just so much hate and so much dissension. And I don't know that there's any politician that can fix what's going on. People need the Lord. That's a cliche. It's an old saying. But I would just encourage your listeners, any that have not placed their faith in Jesus for their salvation, they need to do that. It's a simple prayer. But also, I just want to encourage those of us that know the Lord and walked with the Lord most of our lives. We need to live it out. We need to walk it out. We need to live it in front of people, and just be for people something that would help them and positive and encouraging. And watch how we speak, and let's just try to turn this thing around to where we're nice people again. I grew up in this country when it was nice people. Oh, we always had crime and issues, but not like today. Not like today. There's a different group of people here now, and we got to pray just to make it today.
Boy, that's the truth, Randy. You nailed it. Our pastor, coming back from a recent trip, he said he had a lot of time to do people watching in the airports, and he said people just aren't kind to each other anymore. They're not polite. They don't respect those that are older. They cut in line. They shove their way around. And my gosh, people, we only make this trip one time, and we need to. The Bible says only the things that are done for Him are going to last.
Right.
So thanks for bringing that up, brother. I appreciate you. And to all our listeners out there, if you're looking for us, the Fielder Brothers, it's a pretty good chance that we've gone to the dogs.